Tech Talks, House Rules. Join us on AVE Live, Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom. Watch on Facebook or YouTube from the AV Educate page, or register as an attendee for the webinar. Live Q&A. Our guest will lead us through a guided demo and conversation about tonight's topic. We will take your questions and comments throughout the show. Don't wait until the end. Get your questions and comments in early to shape the conversation. We don't know it all. We're human and don't claim to know everything. We may demonstrate or discuss one way to do something, but that doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. If you've found another way that is easier or yields better results, please share with the community so we can all learn together. Follow AV Educate. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and have a library of content on YouTube. Join us on Zoom for AV Tech Talks and to become a member of our community on Discord, where the conversations, the learning, and the sharing continues. We are where you are. Place your phone over the QR code to come learn more about AV Educate.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Well,
No, I
that might
can
be
hear you.
why. That might be why I wasn't seeing audio, because I was muted. So there we go. It looks like we should have audio on the stream. There we go. It'll get me every time when we haven't done this in a while. This guy has to learn a little bit about Zoom, I guess. So welcome everybody. We're back with AV Tech Talks. It's been a while. Everybody has just gotten kind of really busy. I hope everybody out who's watching there tonight, everybody out there has also been pretty busy. The back half of 2021, making up for some of the lost time we had in 2020. So yeah, it's just been so crazy for me, Omar, Bodie, and getting our guests, because so many of our guests would be really excited to come on the show. And then, with all the work that was flooding back, at least here in the States, it was very difficult to always get them back on the show. Just schedules what they are. So we're happy to be back. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, is the future of AV Tech Talk. So you may have noticed, if you saw the email today or if you're tuning in, that we don't really have a topic in our description. And that's because we're going to be talking about where the future of the show is going to go. And I'm more interested in your guys' input than what I have to think about it. Because really, we're here for you guys. We're here for the audience. So, that's what we're going to talk about. We want to get your feedback. We're going to put a poll out in the chat soon so that you guys can fill in some info. I did come up with some questions, but at any point just throw into the chat if you have ideas, or if you're agreeing with some of the stuff we're saying, or you think we've been completely doing it all wrong and we should totally revamp the show. Just let us know. We won't necessarily follow every recommendation, but we at least will listen to them. I do want to welcome everybody on the panel tonight. In my order, it looks like I've got Fred joining us. Fred, I am going to butcher your last name, so I'm not going to try. Andrew Broughton, Dave Node, Leland Best, and I have Jeff Keithley, and Tim Mann is also here. So thank you guys for joining. Omar and Bodie might be able to join us later. They are on a show today. So they popped in earlier and said that they're in OT. So we all know how their show is probably going. If they are in OT, they weren't expecting. So we hopefully we'll see them later. So first, and just to check in, I'd love to hear what some of you guys have been working on. What's been going on? Let's see, Andrew, what's been up with you, Andy Broughton?
Well, in the fall, I was out on tour with Rain, and it was kind of interesting to do a tour during the COVID season, and it went well. We nobody got sick. Nobody got sick on the crew. Nobody got sick on the band, thanks to our COVID compliance officer and all the sort of pandemic / rules that they put in there. So, but it was really, really great to be back out again and doing live shows. So that was exciting. Supposed to be going back out in February. We'll see. Omicron, don't know. But it's still on the books. So hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah, hopefully. That sounds great. Glad to hear that you were back out on the road and doing what you like to do. Fred, you're back at your chair. What have you been up to lately? Oh, you're still on mute, and we can't even see your mouth moving because you got a mask on. I think Fred's actually working, so we're going to come back to Fred. Let's see, Dave Node, what you been up to?
Well, I worked about 9 weeks straight in the fall, and so it was a nice holiday break. I pretty much took most of the month of December off, and had a job in Orlando and Destin, Florida, booked for last week and this week. Both those canceled because of Omicron at the last minute, and so they turned them virtual. So I'm in Atlanta last week and this week doing a virtual version of those meetings. I was supposed to go to LA next week, but that one went away and has been rescheduled for March. So it's I've got more e-credits than I have tickets booked so far on Delta this year, but it's all good. I just drove back to Atlanta, went home for the weekend, and drove back to start another virtual meeting tomorrow.
Nice. Glad to hear you've been keeping busy. Let's see. I'm going to go to Leland. Leland, what you been up to?
Sure. Well, I've been on a little bit of a hiatus thanks to my health issues, as you all heard before the show. But if you want to find out more about that, you can check me out online. I'm sure you'll find about it. But we did the Public Health Institute's overdose leadership crisis event last month, which was it was a great turnout. We had about 400 people involved with 50 speakers live, and everything was done remotely. Wasn't a single person on stage. Everything was done through Zoom, as you are all well aware of, and it went pretty well. So this year, kind of changing things up. Not spending so much time in the event space itself as I am more into maybe the corporate space, doing recordings for folks that really need to get their stuff on film for more strategic placement. So more of an interviewer step that I'm going to take this year. We'll change of pace.
Yeah, change is good sometimes, man. So, as you mentioned with your health, man, hope all works out, and we look forward to having you back on the panel as soon as you're all on the mend.
Be all good after Wednesday or Thursday, I'm hoping.
Good. So that leaves me next to Jeff Keithley. How you been?
We've been pretty good, actually. Sports kind of came back in the fall, got us busy for once, which stayed straight through most of September, October, into November, and then we had a little hiatus and came back with a couple of really big virtual events with our friends at Tony Robbins and the Warrior Studios there in Vegas, which turned out really well. And then the week after that, did a first-time event with Gala Games, which is a new gaming company. So gaming is an esports company, and they rolled out some of their new e-gaming, and they do a cool different thing. They're involved in crypto also, so they are one of the first in the esports world that are play to earn, call it PTE, and so you can actually play the game and you earn crypto in order to buy other things in the game, or you earn crypto coins themselves, which is just a totally different kind of thing. But it was I worked with a company called Volo Events on it, and it was amazing. It was one of the most expensive events I've been involved with, and I've been doing this for 35 plus years. And it was just to see that kind of money thrown at the event was it was refreshing. It was like it wasn't the got to cut the budget, got to cut the budget, got to cut the budget that we've been living under for the last 5-10 years. It was, well, I want this. Okay, well, it costs this. Okay, and that was kind of cool. And yeah, it was pretty substantial. They had like really big sets. Like most places you go into a corporate event, they might have one look for the room, and this place in that one ballroom had six, and it was like to the level of Disney as far as the scenery and everything. It was a really refreshing event. I mean, anytime you have 350 chain hoists in a ballroom, you know you got a lot of fun stuff to play with. And I didn't get to play with the lights, but it was great watching them being done and the effects. And I mean, the projection was everywhere. Multi-channel video was everywhere. We were just producing the video for a couple of the venues, and we did the Chicken Cup Challenge, which was quite an event. With Spider Tanks is the game that we were doing, and had this huge chicken that rotated on a stage in the middle, and the chicken barfed out CO2 every once in a while. Call it barf, man. Yeah, it was just shooting CO2 out his mouth, and yeah, it was a load of fun. We had a lot of fun. You could find it on Scala Games. You can find it on YouTube. It was skip through that. Don't watch it all. It was like 3-hour webcast. So it was fun. But if you're really encouraged, I mean, yeah, watch it. It was great. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, sounds like you were busy. So that's really cool. Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear from everybody. Glad to see everybody. It's been way too long. And for everybody watching in the chat, let us know what you've been doing. If you've been working on some cool stuff, tell us about it. If you've been doing some corporate, or if you've been out on the road touring like Andy, or been working on virtual from home still, or whatever it is, just let us know what you've been doing. And that's going to bring me to kind of. Oh, sorry, Tim joined back. I don't want to forget about Tim. Tim, what have you been up to?
Well, we've been relatively quiet, but the start of December was absolute chaos. We had 4 live streams out of the Blackmagic. Ended up 2 of which end up having to be edited down for ELC graduation concerts and all the likes. And then I was working on a theatre show for a week there as well. So it's been busy, quiet, but I'm sort of glad the industry is finally starting to get somewhat back, because this COVID stuff is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you being on the other side of the world from where I am, with different, restrictions. Yeah, I can't even imagine what it's like down on your side of the world. But glad to hear you're back and doing some work. And I'm sure that the chaos, even as stressful as it might have been, was probably welcomed after the long hiatus. So cool. So yeah, I see people are posting in the chats. Stuff working on. John Nidelson here in Zoom said that the Monterey Convention Center studio is up and running. So that's really cool, John. Glad to hear that. Let us know what's going on. I am a one-man show tonight, as you guys might have seen that Omar and Chris are not here today. They're both working a show that went into overtime. So, like I said earlier, they are probably very much have their hands full. because they were expecting to be here. So I'm going to try to manage as best I can. But yeah, no, great. Keep the comments coming in. So what I want to talk about tonight is kind of the future of where AV Tech Talks is going to go. We've been on this. It's been a little bit of a hiatus because of how busy things were. In the fall, it got really busy for everybody. So we've kind of been having a hard time getting all of us together. Also, getting our guests to be able to actually make it to the show. People would get booked and then work would come up, and we understand everybody here on the show volunteers their time and their knowledge willingly for you guys in the audience, and we can't expect anybody to turn down work to join us on these Monday nights, but we love it when you guys do join us. So with that, I would love to one of the first things, and I am going to launch this poll. I think it's probably a good idea that I put that in now. So I made a Google form that has a poll, and it's got a handful of questions on it. So I'm going to get that out in the various chats that we have going. We are on YouTube and Facebook and here in Zoom tonight. So I'm going to throw that in all three of those chats. And I would love it if you guys would go complete that form for me. We're going to gather up all that data afterwards. Even you guys here in the panel, you guys can do that too. And one of the main things that I've been kind of thinking about is changing what night that we meet. Monday nights has been pretty good, but we're finding that a lot of our guests that we bring on work in the corporate worlds or work for a company that works on kind of corporate hours. And when their days get extended, then they kind of miss the opportunity to get onto the show. So one of the things I've been thinking about is maybe moving the shows to Sundays. We had done that once before, August, I think, or September of 2020 for a few weeks when I was on a long-term gig and Omar had some stuff going on. So we had moved it, and it seemed to work out on the Sundays. So that's question number one on that poll. So love to hear what you guys think, if Sundays would make sense. And, football, I understand football's winding down. There's like some big game coming up in like a few weeks. I don't follow any of that stuff, but I hear it's kind of important to some people. So we figure, once that's over, then people have nothing to do on a Sunday. So it might work out if they come join us on AV Tech Talks. So I guess panelists, what does that make sense to you guys who are here? Does a Sunday, do you find yourself more busy on a Monday night and harder to make it here than it would be like on a Sunday night, for example? Andy Broughton.
Mondays are always best for me. That's always the dark day for shows, and anybody in the theater world or anybody like that is Mondays are better. But yeah, I'm just one person, so if it turns out to be Sunday, I will certainly do my best.
Cool. How about you, Dave? What do you think?
Yeah, either one's probably fine. That's why I just put in the little form. I was filling it out. I'm on my phone tonight, so this is interesting multitasking with a Zoom call and Google stuff on my phone. But yeah, it really depends. A lot of times that's my travel day. So just like today, I've traveled in and getting ready to load it, work tomorrow. So that's good. I'll just be from the hotel room.
Nice. Yeah. We'll get you on your cell phone from hotel room Wi-Fi. That'll be great.
Hey.
What do the rest of you guys think? Leland, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, normally Monday nights, I think I missed more shows just by totally forgetting or being involved in other stuff during the week. Sunday's kind of that's the one day I get a chance to gather my thoughts and decide, how I'm going to settle in for the next week. So I think it's a good idea to start the next week with a lot of information in your head that you can, maybe make some Edward steps with.
Cool. Good. What do you think, Jeff?
I'm leaning more towards Monday still, just because Sundays are family days. If I'm doing stuff, if I could take off the weekend or I'm not working on the weekend, then Sundays, family, and Saturday, Sunday, I try to give them the weekend if at all possible. So I lean more towards the Monday. And for my lifestyle and my wife, who works also late, she's teaching right now. So as it is, um, this is good for me to be away.
Got it. So right now we're a little split. And now Tim, I know it's tough for you because you're already in tomorrow, I think. So where you are in the world. So I don't know that it much matters for you, but what are your thoughts?
I'm a bit of both. At this sort of time slot, I'm just sort of finishing events on a Monday, not on what would be our Tuesday. So right now it's Tuesday, so I don't confuse anything. Normally on a Monday, I normally have events on in the mornings, but the weekend, if I can make it, I can make it. If not, I don't show up. So
Got it.
it just depends on what I'm doing during the week.
Okay. So yeah, we have a little bit of a split here within the panel, but we'd love to hear what everybody else watching has to say. So make sure you fill in those forms so that we can take that data and figure out what to do with it. Some of the other things you might see on the form is just where do people like to watch. We're trying to figure out if right now, as I said, we're on Facebook and YouTube live. And then, of course, we're here in the Zoom webinar. So, where are people's preferences of where they watch the show? Should we be looking at other places to stream? Should we cut down on somewhere? I can tell you as one person watching 3 chats, it's tough to manage from my end when I'm by myself. I wouldn't mind if we were in less places, but I also want to be able to reach people in places. Someone had a while back had told us we should be on Twitch. Is that a thing? I don't know. Is Twitch still somewhere that we should be? I hear tech is like one of the faster growing categories on Twitch. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. And there's other stuff that we're asking on that form. Like what department do people work in? And I guess here in the panel, what does everybody consider the major thing that they work in? Which department? I think Andy, we know you're mainly audio. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, audio to the point of I don't have no clue about video, so definitely audio.
Well, you're also a very successful live streaming host, though.
Very successful.
Extremely. You're like YouTube famous for the Audio Opinion Show.
Well, yeah, ones of people watch that show. But, yeah,
it's the greatest. It's the greatest audio opinion show that airs at 8 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yeah, just don't put this show on the Thursday and we'll be good.
I joined that show last week. That was kind of fun. Sorry, I was in transmission. I think I heard my name, but I was in transmission. I couldn't talk. So yeah, I'm back.
No worries, Fred. Cool. So, Dave, I know, Dave, you do a lot of stuff. What do you consider like your main department?
Probably mostly I've fallen into about 95% video and 5% audio. My clients choose me for a video position, but if they've are overstaffed a certain area or found it easier to staff someone, they can drop me, behind a console and I can make that happen for them too.
Very cool. Very cool. Leland, what do you kind of consider your specialty?
I'm kind of on both sides of the fence, I hate to say. I've probably got more under my belt with the video. That was really what I wrote my book over, was doing live stream broadcasting. But when it came to audio in my DJ years, I play a lot of sound. I still sing for the Office Hours band. So I'm kind of dabbling in both on either side. Just depends on what I'm feeling that day.
Gotcha. Cool. I didn't realize you were singing for the Office Hours band. Oh man, I'm gonna have to tune in more. I gotta hear that.
Just back up right now. Just back.
And then Jeff, how about you?
I have created a new label for myself and my company as Chief Problem Solver. So that is my title. Yeah. whatever it has to do with, that's my job. But
Nice.
yeah, video's probably my first love at this point in time. But I know Dante inside and out, and I play with audio all the time. I do the wiggly lights every once in a while too at church, just to make sure I'm up on top of it still. I still make them move, still make them change colors. What can you do?
Nice.
And
And then
LED walls, that's my latest, besides the, taking them and making them work and stuff, but doing more creative things with LED walls. That's been a challenge I've taken on in the last couple of months too.
got it. Very cool. And then Tim, how about yourself?
I'm mainly audio. I prefer audio. I'll dabble in a little bit of lighting and a little bit of vision, but I'm more open to learning about the vision side of it at the moment due to the current live stream environment we're doing a lot of stuff in.
Gotcha. Well, that segued perfect into the next question. So now that we know what you guys are, your specialties are, what is it that you want to learn more about in the AV industry? Is it, is it more of what you already do, or do you want to learn something in a different department? Like Andrew, is there? I don't know. I keep going in my gallery order. Andrew, is there something?
Alphabetical order, right?
Yeah. What would you, if you to tune in to watch, would you rather watch an audio topic? Would you rather learn about a video topic because it's something you don't know? What's kind of your thought?
Yeah, what I really want to learn more about is remote stuff. So I like connecting with people that are doing remote in any fashion, so that even though my world is audio, remote stuff has to do with internet and networking, and I can always learn more about networking and internet. So because video has such high bandwidth, it's even more difficult to do video stuff, it seems like, with networking than it is with audio. So that's so my main focus would be connections, getting connections and talking more about that kind of stuff, networking especially.
Got it. You know what? I didn't even put that as a topic. So that would be, you would check other on the form and fill that in for us. So,
okay,
which is a totally acceptable answer. And for everybody playing along at home, if you didn't get that form, I'll put it in the chats again. You can fill it out. Just fill it out once, though. You don't got to fill it out more than once. We don't want to skew the data, but make sure you fill it out. Let us know, what stuff you're doing, and then what you'd like to learn more about, so we know what kind of guests to book on the show. And then for someone like Leland, who is kind of on both sides, what content would be more interesting to you? Something that's more in line with video, or more in line with audio learning, or like Andrew said, networking, or something else?
There's a lot that I don't know about audio, and same with video. I mean, I'm not much when it comes to camera operation, because all I've ever really used in most of my video production are either the webcams and fancy PTZs that you see nowadays, or the older equipment from back in the 80s. So I'm so out of tune with some of the Blackmagic gear, some of the higher end gear. And when it really comes down to sound, I haven't touched any of the newer boards that are out there and available for remote production either, because I haven't had everything I do is software based. So for me to jump from like the old analog school of audio into the much newer remote end of audio, I'd like to learn more about Dante, a lot more about other forms of transportation, just like Andrew mentioned a second ago.
Very cool. Okay, great. That's useful. That's useful information for sure. Cool. Let's see. Jeff, I mean, you kind of know everything, but what else would you find interesting as far as content, and somewhere where you feel you could pick up some new tricks and pointers and
I
learn
definitely
something?
do not know everything. I will only say I just know more than the person next to me, that I'm getting picked for the job at that point. That's it. That's all I ever try to be, is just know a little bit more than the person behind you or before you. The bigger things I'd love to see more of, it would be the more fringe things. So LED mapping, maybe some image mapping and things like that. Things that are a little bit more techy, I guess you would say, more high level. Bringing somebody in, maybe even to talk about, we mentioned Dante a couple times, somebody that could talk at a really high level on Dante, maybe DDM, Dante Domain Manager, just something to bring us into. We've hashed it over and over so many times of, this is what happened in the pandemic. This is what we did. This is the virtual meetings. I want to see the parts that are different. The parts that somebody else is doing in another area of the world, another area of the nation or the world, either one, so that I can see, okay, how can I apply that to our business and our business model? That's a big part of it. So the things that are not the normal, I guess you would say.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, it's Fred. Hey, I've been following this guy out of New York about the MacBook repair, and he's been creating a wiki guide, for all of these different scenarios, and I'm involved in a lot of these Zoom meetings, and there's all this information, especially like in office hours and stuff. I mean, these guys do this 7 days a week, but you guys, I'm sure that you get tired of hashing over the same thing over and over and over again, week after week after week. So maybe that's something that these communities should start doing, is creating a wiki and put these things in there so people have a reference, in a Google Docs or whatever it is, and create a guide that shows, here's the problem, here's the solution, and have it searchable by those things. Because we have all this wonderful knowledge out there, but I'm like I said, I'm sure that you guys are just getting tired of going over the same problems over and over again with new people coming in asking the same.
That's exactly why I'm less active on office hours myself, because if I don't answer questions about Blackmagic Gear just because out of policy. I try not to use it, but I still would just rather not hear that question again about how do I make audio follow video in an ATEM Mini. I just like, okay, enough. It's been answered. Or just read the manual, There's so many of those things out there that a lot of people take the easy route. And I kind of felt that a lot of the presentations or the question and answer periods especially are just the same thing rehashed over and over again. And I agree with you, Fred, completely that we need a more searchable and a way to catalog a lot of information, because there is a lot of great information that we pick up, but the amount of stuff you have to sift through to get that nugget, it's so time consuming.
Definitely, I definitely relate to that. Feel your pain, the especially Facebook and places like that where it's just the same dumb questions over and over and over. I would love to see something, as you say, way more, oh, I didn't know that. It's not often that we get to say, whoa, that's something brand new that I've never seen before. I get a lot of that from office hours, or sorry, from oh my goodness, from AV Tech Talks. I get a lot of that information of stuff that I just had no idea even existed. But yeah, the people that are pushing the envelope, you're going to get the questions of over and over and over about these new things that people should be have a resource to go here. I've already answered that question, so why don't you just go to my webpage or my wherever this thing is, and the questions are there. Send a link. It's a great idea.
You were mentioning that earlier about the whole issue with vMix and the Facebook API and how they that got borked over the weekend and stuff. And that was a perfect example, is that Facebook page, one of the Facebook, I don't know if it's the Facebook page for vMix or not, but oh my gosh, it was blowing up with people asking the same question over and over and over, and people were tired of it, and it just cluttered up everything in there. And it's happening on every subject, but that specifically set a lot of people on fire because it was just like, do a search, man, or scroll down 3 posts and it's right there 12 times.
Yeah, you read the same post I did then.
Yeah, there were a ton of posts all about it, and then there were the posts saying, "Can somebody just pin this so that everybody stops posting about it?" So then you get double the noise of the people who were frustrated, and yeah, no. So that's absolutely. I think that's a great idea. The idea of having a wiki or some sort of documentation that is searchable. So yeah, no, that's great. That even could be a function of our Discord. We could put something there, and keep a live kind of repository of notes and information
This seems to be a problem with Facebook groups and even with Discord. So many are set up for chatting and for instant information. Not very few platforms are set up for being able to look at information and see it again. So even when you ask a question, it can scroll down very quickly, and all of a sudden you're asking the same question over and over. So Discord and Facebook and a lot of these platforms are just not the right way to give out information.
Yeah, I don't think there's a search function in Discord, is there? I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it works pretty well. I usually use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you're in the server, you should be able to search.
Some of them though require you to sign up and pay to have more than a certain period of time back. I know Slack does that, where you can only go back so far before they make you pay for previous searchability. So some of these platforms are just not perfect for that.
Right. Now, one thing I will say about the AV Educate Facebook page, if you go to the page, actually, I'm not sure if it's the page or the group, but there are modules there that are basically, learning that is searchable. And I'm not doing a good job of describing this, but if you go to the Facebook page or the group, you'll be able to look in, and Omar has a whole thing organized by A1, V1, L1, so that you can search for the things that you are interested in. And of course, that can always be expanded and grown, but there are some resources there. So the other thing that's great about AV Tech Talks being under the AV Educate umbrella is there is the AV Educate website, so aveducate.com. So that could be something we could add to the website as a section that has maybe each department kind of separated, so that you can search something in audio, search something in video, search something in lighting, just to kind of organize it. But yeah, like maybe a living kind of document that we add to as we all as a community learn more things together from our guests and panels and whatnot here on the show. So no, it's a great idea. I think we could definitely do that. Rick is saying there is a discussion tab on Discord channel for, is there a discussion tab on the Discord channel for today's show? There is not a tab for today's show yet, but I can make one after the event today, and you guys can chat in it. I guess for today, because we're discussing the future of AV Tech Talks, show ideas, there is a show ideas channel in our Discord that would be a good place to maybe throw some stuff, and you can talk in the general chat, and we can we'll be able to find stuff that way. I'm also, because I'm talking about Discord, and I'm realizing not everybody might be on our Discord, so I'm going to make sure I get that posted. I have to make a link that never expires, so that anybody watching this now or later will be able to join. I'll make sure that gets into the 3 chats that I am managing currently. So yeah, no, those are all great suggestions. So here is the Discord link for you guys in Facebook land and in YouTube. Here it comes. What else? Anybody else have any other thoughts on what we were just talking about? Otherwise,
one thing I like about AV Tech Talks is, as a panelist, it allows me to kind of give back to the younger guys starting out with, my years of experience for some of those simple things and some of those best practices and such. If there are questions and answers or a starter topic that we're discussing. But then I always, end up hearing some new little twist on something that I haven't, heard before, or I get something out of it that I wasn't expecting. I also like, tuning into these programs for that up to the minute stuff, for that, oh yeah, this, blew up this week, or this new feature of Zoom, or something broke, or or now they moved this feature to here or unlock this. All of this technology is moving so fast, and you could be on a show doing something you know exactly how to do for a week and miss some of these programs, like Office Hours or AV Tech Talks, and miss something, and then the next show the next week you're going, where is polling now moved to Zoom, or where something's moved. And I think these programs offer some valuable opportunity for that latest and greatest news, for some of the stuff that some of us use quite a bit but don't live in it, so that we're not, that's all we do, because most AV guys, we do a lot of the same thing, but there's always that one or two shows a year where we get stretched into another department or another sideline of what we normally do.
Yeah,
and we're expected
absolutely.
to be masters of it.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. No, those are great points. I do want to just let everybody know in the Discord now, in the upcoming episodes category, there is a channel for January 17th, 2022, the future of AV Tech Talk. So you see, you can ask for things and you get them pretty much instantly. So it's there now in the Discord, and you can feel free to discuss tonight's episode specifically in that channel. But yeah, no, the great points, Dave. And yeah, I think that's one of the things you brought up about being on the panel, and giving back to the community. I mean, that's really how this all started, with Omar and I, and where AV Tech Talks came from was a thing about giving back to the community right at the start of the pandemic. And before we actually started streaming, there was another group that had been working with AV Educate to create these tech talks, to bring techs together more as just a check-in, like, how's everybody doing? Because everybody had just lost their jobs. We were all kind of like out in the cold of like, what do we do now? And it was more of like a social hour gathering. And then, of course, all of us being tech nerds, it became a bunch of tech talk. And, some of the people who weren't there for tech talk, kind of their eyes glazed over, and us guys who were there for tech talk when we were talking about other stuff were kind of like, when can we talk about nerdy tech stuff? So that's where AV Tech Talks came. We decided to split that into kind of two things, the social aspect on one day and then the tech talk on another day. And then we decided to stream it. But the whole thing was about, building the community together, of people with similar interests, and checking in on each other, and how can we help other people. And the whole point of AV Educate, Omar has started this amazing movement with AV Educate. And it's, the mantra is, taking stagehands to technicians and technicians to engineers or operators. So that's the whole point here. And that's, a great way to kind of give back to the community is to share your knowledge. So joining the panel here is a great way for, at least in the AV Tech Talks world, just to share that knowledge. We've been so fortunate to have all of you brilliant people here with us. And I appreciate it. I learn so much from all of you all the time. And I try to, instill any knowledge I have, the little bits where I can. But it is a rewarding experience being on the panel. So one of the things on that form is, if you're interested in being a panelist, let us know and put your email in that form. Or if you have something to present. I mean, I think almost everyone on this panel, with the exception, I think, of Fred right now, has presented at one point on AV Tech Talks. And Fred, it's only because you haven't been on very many times with us. I'm sure eventually I'll sucker you into presenting on something. I'll just bug you enough until you say yes, finally. Oh yeah, I'll do it. Because that's how I kind of wore down these guys. But we've had Dave present. I think, Dave, you talked about Malumen over a year ago. Jeff Keithley has been on multiple times. He's talked about Sienna. He's talked about other, getting puffy in the cloud with, remote production. Leland did an episode on vMix.
And the streaming ones too. I did too.
Yeah. Yep.
did
And then and Andrew was on with Remotely Possible. I think we might have had you on twice with that. At least
The
I know at least we
companion
did.
stuff too. The
Oh, right. That's what it was. Yeah, it was
remotely
companion. Yeah. So, you know, and I mean, you know, usually we have a post show, and every time I think we've had you guys on, where you've led the discussion, you know, we leave the post shows and we talk about how fun that was and what a good time it is. I mean, could any of you guys share maybe your experience as a presenter here on the show, so that anybody else in the community watching who might think, hey, you know, I could talk about a topic or I have something to share, might be inspired to sign up and present something. Anybody raise a hand, want to share anything? Oh, Dave. Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, I mean, I jumped into it. I think it was the third week. I saw the show. I had been on office hours a good bit, and it was a little frustrating to sit there for 2 hours and talk, you know, for 20 seconds at the most. And I wanted to push myself a little more. And I saw AV Educate, and it provided more, not screen time. I wasn't necessarily looking for that as much as experience being on screen and being a presenter. You know, we're all looking down the road. Hopefully everyone's looking down the road at some point and saying, what are we going to do when we grow up? And, you know, I've taught at the college level, you know, just little, you know, classes here and there. And so maybe when I can't push Roadcase anymore, I'll end up somewhere like that, and said, why not, you know, take this as an experience to share a product that I really like. Whenever I ran across Malumen, I would tell techs who are using Resolume and some of these other things, I said, you got to check out Malumen. I can teach you everything you need to know to get a show up and going in 5 minutes. I promise you. And 2 or 3 techs I showed Malumen, and they switched the show during rehearsal from, you know, Resolume or some other software to Malumen and ran the show off of it, because it was simple and it worked and it was reliable, and they were Mac guys and didn't want to futz with PCs at the time that weren't as powerful. And so I was like, this is a great product that people I think would be interested in. And so I sat down for 2 hours and put together kind of a PowerPoint. I watched all the latest. I hadn't even seen the new version, so I watched all the YouTube videos the developer was putting out. And I learned a whole lot about the new version, and I may be even more excited about it. So downloaded the new version and screen shared it out, jumped into the call. We actually, I had trouble getting the links or something like that, which got the adrenaline pumping, and jumped in the call like 2 minutes late and finally got in. And we dove into it, and I loved sharing it and demoing it. And we had some great questions, and it was fun to answer those and try to figure them out on the fly. And it was like bungee jumping. It was a little bit of an adrenaline rush to kind of feel like, okay, I'm in charge of, you know, providing content to, you know, quite a few people for this period of time. And it was neat. And at the end, you know, it was just a great experience. Because I don't claim to be some, you know, host or TV personality. I don't have the chin for it. I don't know.
Dave, you know, you brought up a really great point. That you know, one of the things I heard is when you talked about you know, getting the screen time that you wanted, and you saw this as an opportunity for that. I think that is a great point to mention to anyone who is thinking about, you know, either starting their own kind of channel, or if they want to make their own videos. Like, this is a great place to come and kind of get your feet wet on that, and get screen time. You know, there's a lot of great communities and a lot of great programs where you can contribute, and you know, there's various levels of you know, quality that you have to meet for certain communities to really get any screen time. And we kind of don't have that here, because we think everybody can learn and everybody can contribute, whether they have a great camera or not. You know, for example, Fred right now is on a show site coming in from a cell phone. And
me too.
And you know, Dave's in a hotel on a cell phone. And, you know, the knowledge, I don't care. And Omar just popped in. Just gonna do that.
So what
yeah.
you're saying, we have no standards here? Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you don't have to be afraid or be worried that your camera isn't good enough or your lighting's not good enough or your audio is not good enough, because that's not what we're focused on. We're focused on the quality of the knowledge that we can pass on to the community. We're focused on the quality of the questions. We think that everybody there's no question that's too silly to answer. We don't, again, with your point earlier, Jeff, yeah, we don't necessarily want to hear the same ATEM mini question, but because we pick specific topics to talk about here for a 2-hour window, we don't tend to get those. I think everybody who's been here for a while kind of sees that we don't get a lot of the silly questions because we keep the whole show on a topic. And even when we do general discussions, when we do our open forum conversations, those have typically not gotten into like silly realm. We don't get the very, the repetitious questions. We don't get those. We always get new kind of stuff, and the conversations go in some pretty great places. So yeah, it's not that we don't have standards here. It's that we're not going to tell somebody, no, you can't be on screen because they're coming in on a $10 webcam or something, or from their cell phone or whatever it is, because they're on the road,
You guys are fantastic hosts. This is what makes it so easy to present. I was terrified to come on this thing and actually be a presenter because I don't know how to present. I don't do that kind of thing. But you guys answer all the questions beforehand. You tell us how to do the things. You could keep things rolling. So if there's a lull or something, you'll ask a question. You'll prompt for things to happen. You and Omar are both absolutely amazing at making a presenter feel comfortable and keeping the ball rolling, and it's taking care of all the technical parts on the backside. So it makes it super easy. And I think if it wasn't that way, it would be just too intimidating to come on for anybody, a beginner like me, to come on there and do a presentation. So that's the part I love, was it's just you guys made it so easy to do.
Thank you. That's great feedback. Thank you, Andrew. And I'm glad we made it easy for you, and that you've come back time and time again. And I think that's kind of the thing is that we go for having, repeat. We like seeing familiar faces. We like that people want to come back. So, I mean, that's kind of what a community is, right? We all enjoy each other's company, and we all feel like we get something of value out of the conversations that are happening. So I think that, it turns into a win-win for everybody. If that's kind of the basis of our relationship and of this show. So really cool. Thank you for that input, Andrew and Dave.
Of course, we want to give it back too. I mean, if we can, if there's anything we can do to give back to the overall community, it feels right,
Absolutely.
To use a football analogy that I know will go right over your head, Ed, I think we'd all rather watch a team that has a lot of heart than has really great uniforms. And that's the way I look at this. Yeah, you're seeing guys who are excited about the topics, they're excited about the technology, and they're excited about sharing it and answering questions, and they're not condescending with their answers, and there's no dumb questions. We just want you to feel good about your experience, either as an attendee or a panelist, a presenter. We want everyone to feel good at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking earlier about like Facebook groups and forums and stuff, and where that you do get a lot of silly questions. And Jeff Widgren once said to me about an answer I gave. He said, "Man, that was a billable answer that you provided." And I guess because it was a little lengthy, but it was also in depth. And I feel like everyone who on this panel today and all the presenters that we've had on the show have definitely offered that kind of quality of information, something that normally someone would have to pay a fair amount to get that kind of, you know, insight and the depth of knowledge out of. So again, that's why I harp on how much I appreciate whenever we have presenters or panelists on, because again, everybody's volunteering their time and their knowledge for the greater community. So you know, I can never say thank you enough for that. You know, it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to people in the community. So very cool. It looks like Omar has joined us from not in his car this time. We'll let him get set up before we ask for any before we make him jump on his mic and start talking to us.
I mean, I can start talking now if you guys want.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
So I want to jump in with a couple of things. I've been listening for a while. I was on the show set, so I apologize. I was kind of in and out and there, but not there. From what I've been hearing, so one of the things, you know, Andy, thanks for the positive, and Jeff and Dave there. That was super cool. Navy trainer, some of the things you said in the comments there, I loved as well. But real quick, you know, like thinking back to last year, obviously one of the things that was I don't want to say holding back, but that I was trying to continue for the community, me and Ed, was that, you know, we started this as a, you know, what Ed had said, we started this to kind of connect everybody and stay informed and, you know, use the time wisely. And then we got into this cool groove of getting people that were, you know, super knowledgeable to present on very specific topics. And like Andy was saying, you know, we kept it very to that point, and we made it as open and kind of welcoming as possible, and kept the moment going, but staying on topic and not getting too far off. Unless, and for the audio guys, I'm sorry, I got to bring it up every time. Unless we talk about audio, you guys get stuck on mics for an hour and a half, and you know the whole show goes to that microphone talk. But besides audio, we usually stay on topic, right? But there's two shows that I liked a lot, and I kind of think because everybody's busy and things are happening that way, and what happened right for the new year, where we just kept getting people canceling on us last minute. One of the shows I liked a lot, you know, to just talk with Dave again, is you did a show showing us kind of behind the scenes of one of your setups, and I thought that was really, really cool. And then I did a similar show one time of the switcher, and again, behind the scenes, and I thought that was really cool. And now, you know, moving forward for this year, and to what Andy is saying here too, as far as everything's going, I like the fact that we do stay on topic. So what if we got back to that kind of fun of doing what we love to do, right? And just saying, we pick a topic and we just all kind of contribute the knowledge instead of just finding a specific speaker. Let's say we did a show in the next 2 weeks about XYZ piece of gear that I know maybe a little bit on, Ed knows a little bit on, and then the rest of the community input their knowledge together and we all learn it together. So there isn't like, hey, a professional or another, and maybe that brings the next presenter and says, hey, actually, I know a lot about this. How about next show, I'll do it and I'll show you guys a full run through. To me, that sounds like a cool idea. You guys let me know whether you're interested in that, or we just pick a piece of gear that we can get our hands on and say, hey, we're going to do this. Here's what I know about it. What do you guys know about it? Like, for example, again, touching to Ed was saying how we always learn from each other and we're always doing things. The show I was doing today, I just bought these today, these little stands, super portable. They're actually for the laptops. They're great. They're like $25. Super lightweight, super small. They're called Elf Ants. Super great. They came in today from Amazon, which is actually really cool. But it'd be cool if, like, let's say, for example, for PowerPoint, which is what I was thinking about, I didn't realize, and I always use numbers, right? I didn't realize that hitting home and end goes to the beginning or the end of a slide. I didn't realize that hitting the white, and no command, just literally hitting these buttons, hitting white out the screen, or hitting blanks out the screen. And I can think of like a handful of scenarios that might be useful, but it was just like a cool, like, he told us about it. I was like, why would it do that? And I was like, whatever. So we, on the backup, we hit W and the screen went all white. And I was like, oh shit, that does work. So in my mind, and you, again, I'll stop talking like always, you guys let me know, would it be cool if we just picked something and then we all collectively shared our knowledge about that piece of gear or that piece of whatever on the AV Tech Talks night? Would that be a little more effective? That way we're not always doing these conversations like always, and we're still staying to that nature of learning new technologies, but instead of having one presenter every single time, the community can also be involved in teaching a little bit they didn't know about this piece and that piece, and then collectively we all kind of gain knowledge. And I'll stop talking.
I think it's great to have somebody, at least a leader, the most knowledgeable person about that, even if they're not a presenter, so you can kind of steer it. Because I mean, if you do back and forth between these things of an actual presentation and then these sort of discussions that you talk about, that's great. But I think if you just do discussions, that ends up being a lot more like other shows, and even the Facebook conversations where the people that don't really know are answering questions, and it kind of drives me crazy when you can't get the expert to go, no, this is absolutely how it is. You get a lot of noise in there, people giving their opinions and not really knowing the answers. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Can I jump in here for just a second? Because I was going to jump in earlier with the same topic, but I've taught live streaming for it'll be 10 years coming up in 2013 or 2023. I find it hard to believe already that I've been doing this that long. And what changed my direction, honestly, was when we got called into office hours. And Ed, you got a hold of me through office hours, and I came over to AV Educate to hang out with you guys as well. I found it was the collaboration and the team effort. I could teach anything I know all I want all day long, but it's only my perspective and how I do my workflow. It's not about the possibilities or the ways that you could do it. If you just mixed minds with other people and said, well, let's just come up with an answer to this problem right now and figure out what we would do. What would you do? What would you do? What would you do? And that's where you get that opportunity to build on someone else's idea and probably find out that you were doing it wrong all along anyway. It would be easier if you did it another way. I know I found that out to be the case a lot of times when even just working with Jeff Whitgren over on Zoom, I would be doing one thing one way, or I would go on an event and see another TD do it another way. And be like, oh my God, why didn't I do that a year ago? It's that kind of collaboration that I'd like to see more of.
Yeah, I think that the great thing about AV Tech Talks is the longer format allows for that more best practices discussion. It's not just, going through the feature set and kind of outlining a sales pitch of, a particular product. It's how is it being used? What is it, how are people adding on to the use of it for what it's not intended for, or doing something special or magical with it that the manufacturer didn't even think of. And I think the blending of that, I certainly agree with Andrew's point where, I've been on, especially when I've watched other programs, office hours, and I've heard, they only have time for 1 or 2 quick answers. And sometimes I know that both people who threw out answers have never used that product at all. And they're just guessing something to get on to the next question. And, not to be critical of that, that's just their format, where I think it is good to have this collaboration and honesty about it in this community where we can say, well, none of us have done that, hey, let's check back with it and follow up next week maybe, or if someone has a chance to try it. I think this is the kind of community that could do that and would do that. So it really comes down to, though, to Andrew's point, having some sort of leader who, I don't know if they have to know the most of the product, but they should be able to wrangle the cats, so to speak, to keep us on topic and smell what shouldn't be coming out in the conversation and divert it, if that's a good way to say that.
No, that's great. That's absolutely, Dave. Thanks. John, you had your hand up as an attendee. Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to join and just, thank the group for all that they did. And I think that for me, the greatest value, since I'm not teaching now, is to tell my colleagues who were teaching, this is a great group for people to look at first, because students have sort of a different idea of what the real world is like. And it's very hard for them to get an experience. So just listening to this group talk about what's going on, what the experiences are, and the different views of approaching it has been good. And it's been particularly helpful when I've been working with our convention center, because at various times to get pitched how easy these things are, or you just, it's just a simple programming change. One person can operate it. And, I like these people I'm helping, and I don't want them to really believe just one person can operate it. And there's no such thing as a simple programming change. And that comes up in our discussions here.
Thanks, John. I really like your background. I like the
me too.
The art stuff going on there.
It's my new hanging back. I normally have this in blue. This is my not normal light, but $55 in Turkey. They're made in Turkey and shipped in 3 days for $55. I don't know how they do it. It's not that heavy, but I just ordered something to get shipped over to Europe, and it was $75 to send something half the price of this. So who knows what the shipping process is. But anyway, I've gotten a lot of good positive comments. If anybody wants to know about it, just drop me a note. I'll give you the link.
Yeah, very cool.
It's not an affiliate site for me.
No, that's still really cool. Yeah, I don't know how they, with supply chain being what it is, how does anybody get something shipped that quickly? I have no idea.
It's crazy. I mean,
there's no computer
latest
chips
toy
in it,
that I got.
apparently.
This is a little box that takes a USB camera and comes out HDMI. And I thought it would be fun to get. The guy who makes it in Taiwan. I ordered it 3 days later, direct from Taiwan.
Wow.
I can't get groceries in 4 days.
No, that's
So
crazy.
could
I'll
you
let you know
plug
how it
in
works
one of
about a
those?
week when you have time to play with it.
So is the thought that you could plug in something like an auto follow camera, like is on the portal? But I
That's
forget some of.
Well, the portal
Yeah,
you can
and-
actually do HDMI out, but I have some auto tracking USB only cameras. And
That would be slick. very
the
slick.
unknown is a lot of those cameras also use the USB to give feedback, to the camera for settings. And so we'll see how this works. Film at 11.
Cool.
See, now we wouldn't have found out about that if Hiddleston wouldn't have showed up with his hand to show it on the window here in this Zoom.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's
That was
really
worth
cool.
the price of admission right there.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm just amazed that something with a chip got shipped anywhere at all. Period. End stop. So there's been like so much great insight tonight from the panel, and from everybody who's watching. This has been really great. I would love to hear though from everybody, what are some of the, and this was a question on the forum, but what are some of our AV goals for 2022? It's been a pretty rough year and a half, 2 years. And what are some of the things either you're looking forward to or something you hope to do, a big show, something you want to learn? What are some of the things you guys are looking to in AV in the next year? I'm going to go with Leland because he had a hand up.
I want to work with some more of you guys. I've managed to pull a lot of work out of the two groups that I've been involved with, but working on weddings, events, sports, you name it. And thanks to a lot of the folks here on these teams, but I would love to see more of that take place as well. I think we've gotten together enough to know each other, be able to trust each other, and be able to work together enough that there's a lot of us that haven't worked together yet. And maybe there's some of us that have, tried to work together and haven't gotten the full aspect built up to be able to work together later. I managed to pull some work from Ryan here at Blackbird Virtual and did another doctor's event right after our PHI event from the other group. So it was like literally bouncing back and forth just to find work. I think all of us should, when necessary, when available, or when needed, have the ability to communicate with all of us and be able to find work for each other.
Well, you Americans, it makes it so easy, doesn't it?
Well, the virtual thing helps.
No, I think that's
if you have to travel, it's a lot more difficult. But I completely agree. And it would be so amazing to work with anybody, but even just to meet face to face, see some of you face to face would be amazing too.
Yeah, I definitely echo that. To be able to see, some of you guys in person and work on something together would be a fun thing to do. My number one AV goal every year is just to hit my airline mile status, but probably not going to happen this year. It's a
Hopefully
little
they'll
less AV
grandfather you in.
related. What's that?
Hopefully they'll grandfather you in. Also, write a letter.
They
to them.
have, yeah.
Yeah, my wife always, when she was close to getting it, she'd write a note. Do you really want to tick me off for just 1,000 miles?
No, hitting a diamond on Delta in 2019 was the best value ever because they gave it to me for 2020 and 2021 and now for 2022. So I got four years for the price of one.
Well, my goal would be to have all of you show up at the Monterey Convention Center to see how it works. And I'm sort of the Monterey Convention Bureau, come here, spend money and leave. I mean, no. But it would be fun. You talk about a meetup. I've got sort of a dream of when life gets better, that a whole bunch of us show up in Monterey. It'd be fun to see that studio, but also Monterey's a great place to visit. So, and now you got a local host.
I've done 2 events there in Pebble Beach and love the Monterey Convention Center, the whole town. And yeah, I can picture it for sure.
Okay, well, the next time you're here, Dave, make sure you let me know.
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's quite a bit warmer than where I am currently. So
yeah, we're not allowed to talk about that to East Coasters right now.
I'm not even an East Coaster anymore. I'm in Michigan, so it's even worse than it sounds.
With me now.
Yeah,
I gave you a choice to move south, brother. I gave you a choice. You made it.
I didn't get a letter. I didn't get a letter that had enough zeros on it. I would have
numbers.
Yeah, I would have.
It was all for experience, and this is what we're doing here. We're doing this for experience, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of houses open down here for a little while, but we're getting a lot of people move in, unfortunately. But I agree with a lot of the guys. Is getting out and working. Like Omar's worked with me on a couple things, and I worked with Leland on a couple. It's fun to have that connection, and I feel like that's a big part of it moving forward. Is as we become to know people and we know each other, it's a matter of trust, right? So a lot of this is just a matter of trust. We know that we're not going to just grab a freelancer and roll the dice. That's what I'm tired of doing. I'd rather have somebody that's like, I'm going to see you next week, so you better not screw this up for me, right?
There's a little accountability there,
Absolutely.
And half of an AV crew, this isn't mentioned enough, maybe 90% of a good working AV crew is the personality blend of the team and how everyone gets along with each other. That makes or breaks a general session team for sure.
Absolutely. I was, as we know, I just relocated, and I've been lucky enough to kind of, I found some work. I got in with a company who then, after just an interview, introduced me to other companies in the area, which was, huge. And it kind of came down to, that I made a good impression on that interview. And the person saw that I could back up. I knew some stuff and I could back it up, and that I was someone who would fit well with the rest of the small community of AV people here. And what's really funny, Andrew, I forgot to tell you this last week on the Audio Opinion Show, is I met an audio tech here on my second job, and we're talking, and it's the studio we were in was all Yamaha, and he was putting in a new console and Dante and getting this whole thing up and running. And I was telling him, oh yeah, there's this like thing where you can control Yamaha consoles remotely. He's like, that's where I know you from that show. You were on that show, and there was like the 4 boxes, and you guys were mixing remotely, and I had a mask on, and he's like, even with the mask, I recognize you. So we were talking, and he actually pulled up on his laptop. He said was signing up at the moment for your discourse. A guy named Al from out here in Michigan. So when you get his emails, he said he was talking with you about Remotely Possible. So now, now he's got me to pitch it for you. So
that's great.
Small world.
There probably wouldn't be anywhere near the number of people that know about anything I do without without AV Tech Talks. I mean, it's been an amazing platform to just get the word out there. I've met so many great people because of it. Haven't sold much in the way of software, but that's okay. It's still everybody knows everybody now. It's amazing how well that works.
Yeah. And I can say, brought up by, something that AV Trainer is saying here in the Zoom is I have actually in person met AV Trainer on 2 separate occasions. So
I met him as well.
So he does exist. It's not like he's not like Santa Claus where you're not too sure if he exists or not. He exists, and he's apparently he's met a bunch of us. So yeah, he is Adam is real. Somebody said, yeah, yep, AV Trainer is a real person. So I can confirm. But yeah, no, it would be great. It would be great to meet a lot of you. You know what? As funny as it is, Omar and I have actually never met in person. How crazy is that?
Wow.
After all this time?
After
Really?
all this time, yeah. He was in New York, and we almost met when he was in New York. Oh no, his trip got canceled. That's right. We planned it. We were gonna meet up, and then it didn't happen. Him and Chris, I think, were both gonna be in New York, and we just missed it. So Jeff, you got to bring me and Omar in on a tennis thing so we can finally.
I tried. Mr. Omar's working. He's so busy.
Yeah, well,
I tried to make it
that's
down for
funny,
the
though.
cookout the other day, but I had a job that day.
I would
Make it
love
down.
to. I'd love to get down there because we've been talking about moving to Florida ourselves. So, if I got to leave you here, Ed, I will. But I just kind of lost my mind there for a second. Never mind. I had a brain fart.
It's all good. It's all good. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, let us know what your goals for 2022 are. We'd love to hear what people, it's all about like, goals are great things. Like, what do you want to learn? What do you want to do? What thing are you working towards? And how can we help cheerlead you on in that adventure? We're a community. So that's the thing. If, let us know what you're working on. And, if you need help, if you're getting stuck somewhere, the great thing about a community is put up a post in our Discord, and I might not have the answer, but I probably know 4 other people who do. So I connect you. That happens all the time. I get messages a lot on Discord where someone will be like, hey, I need help with this. And then I'll just tag the people who I know who know that. And now I'm happy to bridge that gap. I'm happy to be the person who makes those introductions and connections. And I'm also happy to ask dumb questions. So if you have a question you don't want to ask publicly, just let me know, and I'll look like the idiot. I don't care. My wife tells me I do that all the time, so it's fine, And again, there's no really dumb questions. It's the perception that people have that a question isn't a good question, and that's what we want to break down. Is chances are if you have that, it's so cliche. We all heard it in school. Chances are if you have a question, someone else has that same question. So again, if you don't want to be the one to ask it, put it on me, put it on Omar, put it on Chris. One of us will ask the group. We have no problem with that. That's what we're kind of here for. And we'll get you the answers, because that's the real thing. Is there's so much knowledge here that the answers are just there. You just got to ask the right questions and ask the question at all. And there's enough willing people who will help get you to where you need to be to achieve those goals. And sometimes it's the silly, the littlest thing. As soon as you get past that hump of that one little thing, maybe it opens up the whole world of that topic or whatever it is, and gets you to where you need to be. So I want to see everybody succeed. That's kind of another one of the whole things. If you haven't picked up on it, we're all about getting everybody to another level. So and yeah, I would love to meet everybody. I'd love to go to Monterey where it's warmer, and check out what John's got going on, or head down to Texas and hang out with Jeff, and or anywhere warmer than where I am right now. I will be happy to travel to meet any of you. Dave, you got something to say?
Yeah, I would say that these questions don't have to be technical questions about knobs or buttons or software. They can also be questions about the business and industry, and the politics of AV, the managing the lifestyle. I think we've done an AV Tech Talks possibly on work-life balance, things like that are great because we're guys who have been doing it for a while, and that's part of it. It becomes a lifestyle that we kind of take for granted. But for, if you're just starting out in it and figuring out how to, structure your company or I was in a long discussion on Facebook today on calculating overtime, and somehow it turned into vaccination status, as all Facebook, discussions do. But yeah, we're here for that too.
Yeah, and that's also another thing about the AV Educate community is that we have other channels that cater to that, like the Wednesday podcast that Omar hosts, is that soft skills side of all those things that you were just talking about, Dave, like how do you deal with clients, and Omar had a great couple weeks, I think you did this past year, that Laura came, I think it was Laura, right, who came on and talked about disabilities and working with people in the industry who and catering to those sorts of things and adapting, all sorts of things that maybe aren't this technical thing, or but you still need to know. We still need to all work on. Omar, maybe you can share a little bit about the Wednesday podcast, and then Andrew, I see that hand. We'll get to you in just a sec.
Yeah, so the podcast side, like Ed was saying here, is definitely soft skills, right? So we try to keep AV Tech Talks with, so the way we do it, right, and I think I said this before, is like hard skills, right? So like the technical nitty gritty of things, what people are interested in, and then the other side of the business, which everything you just mentioned is, Dave, is the business, the accounting, the money side of things, the socializing things, and what stuff that was said here earlier, right? So for example, one of the things you guys said earlier that's definitely, the other element to being in the industry, right, is that you can have all the technical knowledge in the world, but if you're not someone I want to be around, I'm not going to put you on a tour with me or on a show with me or travel you out to fly to do a gig if you're just a shitty person, right? So we talk about those types of softer skills where it's like, hey, not only should you know how to run your business, which is what we talk about on this side, but also you should learn how to be just a personable person. And here's things you should think about. When it came to the disabilities we just talked about here, Laura kind of brought that up, and I know you guys have talked about it with the AV Tech Talks. We brought in a speaker, Yvette, who actually runs a company called Disability Matters. So we dove into some of those things and how for them, they do a yearly event with AV, usually using in-house. And I've done a couple of shows for them because they run a nonprofit for this. And some of the things that they have to deal with the AV side about the actual laws and that the hotels are supposed to follow, they sometimes don't, that they have to get involved in, and that kind of nitty gritty stuff. And then just things that they see as well with the text, not that we're always the best at things, but things that we maybe are ignorant to because we're not in those positions or we're not in that stuff. And thinking about how, people with disabilities, a cane or a wheelchair, or these are an extension of that person. Not, it's not a limitation. It's what gives them mobility, right? Because it's an extension of who they are, because it's part of their everyday life. Just a different way to think about the way those are. We've talked about pay scale. We've talked about running your business as a 1099, paying yourself as a W-2, kind of those things that you need to learn about that we all kind of learn on our own independently through those social conversations. We try to bring those to light and let people get involved. And same thing here, the difference between that show and this one is, you guys coming ahead of time, we all talking and everything. For that one, because it's a different platform, what really ends up happening is the community gets invited, and whoever wants to jump on and be part of it gets to jump on and be part of it. If not, they can stay in the comments and we go back and forth. But we always try to bring in an expert on the topic or someone who's knowledgeable on the topic. We've also done past shows on just being a producer for virtual Zoom calls and what your producers are expecting or what you're expected to do as a Zoom person working remote from home. Again, working on those, hey, you might have the skills to do virtual, but what is your client or your end client expecting you? And just some of the things to be conscious of, don't be playing video games or talking shit on comms, while you're doing a show. Be attentive, be there, be present, be communicative. Don't just be like, okay, I'm here remotely, they can't see me, I'm gonna do something else and I'll wait till I get called. Try to be proactive as much as you can. So that's what we talk about on that channel, in not a nutshell, in a big explanation. But we try to keep that there so that we can focus on this one, those tech talks with you guys, and really get into the nitty gritty, like we were saying, of these topics. And that one's only an hour-long show. So that one does have like part 2 sometimes to continue those conversations. I think for the disability ones, we actually did 3 of them. And it got super deep into things that, things that I was ignorant to that now I'm aware of. That, just some of the verbiage stuff. And we went into captioning, and we had Tim from California get involved on one of them and really dive deep. And as far as captioning goes, and different ways to do things there. So, oh yeah, Tim K, he's here right now. Tim's a great presenter, great talker, has his own podcast on the other coast, and he went from like, hey, we know about this, to like, I know about this, we're talking about this topic, I got you, and like it just expanded the conversation. But those talks are definitely more of those soft skills. And even Tim's talked about it too a bunch of times. Like, I'd rather work with someone who's competent and can do the job, who I want to be with, whether it's virtually or in person. And that's kind of the real nitty gritty of that show, is to really get you to think, not just to be this high-end, super technical person who could do the job, but also be someone who people want to be around when you're on a show site. Not someone who's just like, okay, Ed knows his shit, but he's a pain in the ass. Ed goes on a show, Ed knows his stuff, he's personable, he hangs out, he socializes with you, he talks to you, he's a good person to be around. Not, oh, Ed comes, does a show, and then he goes to his hotel room and whatever, does his thing. Just getting guys who are coming into the industry, who are maybe doing this for a while, and forgetting that, hey, you need to also be social with your crew and communicate with them back and forth. Don't make it a one-way thing. Anyways, that's all I got.
Cool. Yeah. So yeah, we kind of cover a bit of, we have different channels within the AV Educate umbrella for different things. But yeah, no, those, I forget who brought it up, but yeah, the soft skills part is very important. And again, why we have the community, being part of the Discord doesn't mean you only have to talk about the tech things. We can talk about those soft skills in those offline conversations as well. Did somebody else?
I do want to jump in real quick. Sorry, Ed. I'll ask the community, is because we have a lot of, I want to say, higher end business owners. Would you guys be opposed to having those types of talks here, where we do more of the business side of talking, kind of educating the crews on maybe something that I think about too, is like, on the billing end, like, hey, when you're billing, your company to my company, these are some things that I see guys do that it's not correct, but they're doing it anyways. Maybe there's a better way to do it, or a better way to do their company stuff. I don't know how deep we want to get into those conversations. That's why the other one's like an hour-long convo. But since you guys are business owners and you deal with this a lot, and you deal with the 1099 guys and business work, B2B, would you guys be interested in doing talks like that on the AV Tech Talks channel, where we're talking more about the business end of AV, where, hey, if you're business A dealing with business B, these are things you should be doing to make both of ourselves work better together, versus if you're 1099ing yourself and billing me as a 1099, here's some other things you can think about where you could be saving money if you did this. Are those topics you guys think would be more appropriate for AV Tech Talks? I could probably think of a couple scenarios off the top of my head, but like, I guess one scenario would be, I had a guy who was a 1099 who finally got his business license. I had to teach him how to do all this. Wouldn't be a topic there, but on the nitty gritty side of that, it was more of, he was asking questions, or I'm sorry, he sent his invoice. I won't call who it was. It wasn't anybody here, but he sent out an invoice, which was an email that just said, day one, date, times, and then like a number. And I was like, I just sent him an invoice saying, dude, please use this, fill it out. It's auto done. It'll save you so much time in the future. Don't ever send this to anybody else. But this is a guy that I knew for probably 6 or 7 years before I hired him for anything. And I was like, were you sending this to everybody? Like, were you sending this to people like this whole time? Like, no one's ever just offered you an Excel sheet to use? Like, I don't understand. So he uses it now. At least for me, he uses it. And I didn't mean to insult him by it. It was more like, this would make your life easier and you look more professional. And I walked him through, like, change this out to make it your own. Like, put your logo in there, put your name in there. And that's kind of when I found out about his business model. And I was like, okay, you need to do these things to make your life easier. You need to separate these because that's not accurate. Would you guys be interested in doing talks like that because you have that higher end knowledge of that, and all these guys are learning it, or is that just too nitty gritty?
No, I think it goes to the purpose of AV Educate, in that taking technicians into operators, because most operators are freelancers that are going out on their own. That's kind of when they make that leap. and it dovetails right into the purpose. And I'm always happy to share. That's actually sometimes more of a topic of after show bar side conversation among techs than the technical stuff, because we know the technical stuff. It's we're all trying to figure out how to get paid and keep our money and things like that.
Yeah, the biggest struggle I see with a lot of these guys is when they switch over from that stagehand position, working for a labor company, to going out on their own. They're so used to it being done from, they don't even realize it. Hey, now you have to track your hours. You got to send this out. No one's doing this for you. You're your own person. But then they end up doing it that way, and they don't do the business side. It's like, okay, but you're not getting these, like you're talking about them, but you're not really qualifying for them when you do your taxes. Just so you know, you're not getting the full benefits of that because you're not doing it this way. And a lot of these guys, they don't even realize that, because they're just like, oh yeah, I did stagehand this way, and oh, I got to track my hours, send it out. Cool. I'll just send out this random email. And it's like, that's not the full picture, brother. But all right, cool. Here's what you should be doing. I think those talks would be great. And I know someone else has something to say too. When Dave was saying something, I can't see who's who though.
I did. I actually have no problem with that also. I mean, that's, okay. Yeah, they're exactly what you said. It's happened to me twice in the last month. And so I was like, come on guys, this day and age, really? You can't make something that looks like an actual invoice. You're sending me an email. Yeah, no, I agree completely that, I don't mind sharing it all.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that'd be a great topic for this, because there are a lot of you guys are great business owners. You get to see that on the other end, and I'm sure you have valuable insight to give these guys to say, hey, here's things that we see that is wrong. You should be doing this, and it would be easier for you as an individual in general just to be doing it this way, because this is how business is done. And I think those talks aren't happening enough in the industry. And a lot of times, the guys that I talk to, I didn't read the comment, but I saw someone talking about like EIN and IRS. Like, those things are super easy to get to, and it's literally a conversation. It takes you 30 minutes to learn it. But no one, everybody's always, I get it's the other side of business that people kind of, well, it's how I do my things, and there's so many variables, and there is, but there are some generics that is across the board, like getting your IRS number, getting your business license and determining what that is a quick conversation. Getting your EIN number is quick and easy to do online. But those are conversations that need to happen. And a lot of these guys, they get too afraid of it, they get shy of it, or they don't know who to ask. And it's really universal knowledge, in my opinion. But Jeff, getting an invoice that isn't in a format that makes sense, you're like, what am I gonna do with this? Or they'll send it late and they're like, oh, 2 weeks. Like, who said 2 weeks? Did we agree to that? They have these false expectations, and it's like, sometimes as a business owner, you need to politely educate people on these things. And I think AB 2000 is a great place to do it. But I also know that the other side of business, sometimes it's a little, little different. What do you got?
I see you out there real quick. Due to the fact that you came here and asked this entire panel what you want AV Educate to be, I think you kind of just answered it. When you think about the progress, we did a show years ago, and it was called So You Want to Be a Co-Host, okay? And we went through the steps that a person would have to take in order to be a co-host for a host on a broadcast. And I think you just kind of said, well, we need people who have both business experience, or at least a little bit of savvy to it, have the training that they need to be the person that we want on the stage or behind the stage or in front of the stage. Why not start from day one and just say, okay, you want to build an AV business? This is how you do it. And you start with those steps for each course that you decide to put on the air. And by the time you're done, that person at the end of that coursework is going to know exactly what they need. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, there's also like some business etiquette, right? Like, don't be the guy that goes working for somebody else and try to take business. Like, that's not good business. And especially in our industry, that's how you start not getting work anymore, right? Like, everybody here works together. There's enough for everybody. Don't break trust that way, because you'll real quickly run yourself out of work and a job, and be in another industry, because we're very quick in AV to shut that stuff down. I hate the saying, fake it till you make it, right? Because in this industry, when you fake it, you mess something up, right? And this is me using my PG words. You mess something up, and you don't get that you don't get that call ever again from that client, because you lied about what your skill sets were, and you weren't even honest about it. And that's something on the podcast I would kind of talk about a lot. Like, in this industry, fake it till you make it does not work, because we catch that very quickly, and we don't call you, and we let other people know not to call you.
Well, especially
just-
when that person's a freelancer and you expected them to know that information.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you completely about that, Omar.
Yep.
I just addressed that exact phrase that you mentioned because another person brought it up in a topic of conversation on Facebook. They're like, but what's wrong with that? It kind of goes back to the old adage, if you want to be a valorous man, then act like a valorous man. But that's not what we're working with here. And it's the fact that I told her, I jumped on the post and said, faking to make it is one thing, but let's try to learn it to earn it, because I think that makes more sense to everybody to actually get the skills before you hang your sign and decide that you think you know what you're talking about. Just get to know what you're talking about first.
Agreed. Ed,
Yeah,
you had said something. You had said something earlier that I wanted to touch on too. I know Enemy have, and I forgot who said it this way. The original intention that Enemy did these shows the way we're doing them was not because we don't have a standard. It was more of we were hoping to encourage others to do the same by creating this kind of low barrier to entry. And unfortunately, the other side to that, which we didn't pick up on until obviously it was too late, is that it became we were trying to take over everything for the AV community to learn. And the reality was we were trying to make it so that, hey, this is how easy this is to do. You should also do it. And how can we help you do it? Because we want the community to give back in general. And we all have knowledge to share from, but it can't just be us. And we ended up taking that role. So, I apologize for that part that we may have came off that way and that was never the intention, but we're here now. And we want to continue to kind of give back. And you guys are in the same boat as us, like giving to the community and vice versa. I just wanted to, I know that's out of topic, but I wanted to mention that real quick because I know we're getting close to that timing. That the whole reason we made it the way we did and kind of welcoming and then making sure that we stayed to this one topic was for that reason. Like, hey, there's a lot of people, like, and Andy had said earlier, like, I'm honored by what you said about us, because honestly, we want it to be that way. We want to do the heavy lifting. All you got to do is show up and do what you do best, right? Which is what you know. And I feel like we may have deterred people from starting it because we did it. And I just had a conversation today, someone about that as well. And I said, and he said he had a similar idea to AV Educate. He didn't do it because we started this already. And I was like, well, you can come jump on with us, or we can help you start your own thing. Like it shouldn't be that way. And Enemy never saw it that way until we got told it was that. And now I feel kind of bad about it because that was never the intention.
Well, anybody that's watched what you guys do, I think would be intimidated to even try, because I can see how hard it is to do what you guys do so well. I can't imagine somebody else, from scratch going, I'm going to start a show just like that. It's like, wow, that's confidence if you think you can do that, because I can see that it's not easy. It's a lot of time and effort, a lot of work for you guys to do it.
It's definitely time and effort, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I would say the
huge.
show is the easy part.
Yeah, and I could tell you that anybody who wants to come in and do a show but doesn't know how to get started, come help us, because we really could use more hands in the back, doing more of the push. So if you're not sure where to start, come join us, and then if you want to branch out, feel free. If you want to stick with us, great. But we'll help be that stepping stone if you want, because we could definitely use the extra hands. One of the things Omar and I have been talking about is taking our production to the cloud so that we can have other people help out on the back end. If only we knew a guy who could help us get to that point, but we'll get there one day. We'll make that, maybe somebody in the community can help us make a connection. But we'll get our cloud. I made my AWS account recently. I'm starting to build it up. I need a few more pointers from a good resource, but that's going to be a direction that we're exploring, so that a big problem for getting the show produced a lot too, that Omar, me, and Chris were having, was that we're all on the road somewhere, and we might be able to get into log into AWS, but we're not home necessarily where all of our stuff is. So I think if we move it to the cloud, then that'll give us more opportunity, and then we could bring in other people. Anybody here who wanted to cut the show, from wherever they are, could do so. Shrikant out in India, he's been like, hey, how can I help out? I'd love to do it. And it's like, well, if I put up a cloud vmix machine, I'll let Shrikant run that thing all day long, because that guy's a maniac. He's amazing. So so please feel free, if you're interested, just hit us up. We will find something for you to do, and we won't have to look very hard. I'll probably be just shoving it here, take this off my plate, because it is a lot of work, but we're happy to be that springboard and stepping stone for somebody else if you want to put something else out similar to what we're doing. I think there's enough room to play. There doesn't need to be only a couple of these communities and these types of shows. I think there's tons of space, and there's enough variation in things that are going on. I mean, the Audio Opinion Show, as me and Andy are both regulars on. I mean, Andy's the co-host of. That's another program where we discuss audio topics, which audio's the A in AV, I think. So it's there's plenty of room for all different types of shows, and you don't have to follow the exact same format, and there's definitely space. So we'd love to have more hands come on in, and the sentence that Omar said, low barrier to entry. I think that's what we've been aiming for, is to make it so that anybody at home could feel like they could come join us. Again, like, you don't have to have some super expensive camera, or you don't have to be running a QL1 and Dante and blah 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 blah, because whatever you got, make it work, and it'll be great. It'll always be great. So with that, I don't want to have this drag too long, and it wouldn't be AV Tech Talks if we didn't take some questions from the audience. So if there's anybody watching who has any tech related question, we'll take like 3 questions, and then we'll wrap up for the night, because I want to respect everybody's time. And if we have a minute after that, then I think Dave Node had something he wouldn't mind showing us too. So we'll
if you guys want to see
Not
the
safe,
studio that I'm operating out of, this portable studio in Atlanta, I'll do a walkthrough. So I'm going to jump in the elevator, because it's 4 stories down. So I will probably drop out, but I will log back in.
Cool, great. So
While
we'll
you
let
guys
Dave
answer questions.
we'll let Dave get downstairs, and we'll see if there's any. I see Iris in the Facebook comments saying she joins with her teeny setup. Yeah, she. I think she told us times it was like a $30 webcam or something that she was using. And Iris, I hope you're doing well with your teaching gig. And I hope you can join us again sometime soon. But yeah, that's I know Disa, when she was on, would always say how she was on with a little cheap $30 webcam. And I think she was in the built-in microphone. So yeah, it would be. Thanks, Jonathan McDougall. Could you guys please briefly explain Dante Level 3? And then he said, "Just kidding." So,
Briefly.
yeah, briefly. It's a cliff compared to Dante Level 2. That's about as brief as I can get on that. But yeah, it's absolutely. We'll take if anybody has any questions while Dave gets himself situated. Scott Monroe saying relationships help get your name out there. That's great. Great advice there, Scott. Scott was with us in the beginning of AV Tech Talks. He's the founder of the GDN, the Growth and Development Network, for anybody who doesn't know. Yeah, no, great stuff happening in the comments here. Thank you, guys. Cool.
Yeah. Do you have any questions or not?
I haven't seen any yet.
I just want to say one. I want to say one thing. If you don't have questions just yet, the beautiful thing is the combination between highly technical conversations and the experience thing. Like, it's great to know stuff, but the great part about being somebody who's been in the business for a long time, sometimes you can partake pass on that a bit of that knowledge of, if you get in that situation, here's a great way to deal with that, or you maybe shouldn't do this thing. A lot of people we work with, we don't get to see for a very long time, or we don't work with for more than one day or a short period of time. And sometimes you see that they're making mistakes. They're perhaps younger and you don't have time to teach them. It's great that you have a forum here that you can help younger people coming into the business to go, hey, here's a mistake you should never make. And I love the fact that there's both these things. We can learn from the technical part of it, and and we can also learn from people that have done things and done them wrong or done them right, to go, hey, you're going to have a leg up if you know this one little secret that other people don't know. So that's the beautiful thing about this show, is it gives you both of those things.
And I'll add to that, one of the great things about this and listening to other people's experiences is there's been a definitely in the last, since we started this, there's been a ton of times, especially in the last year, where I've been on a show and something's going on in another department. And because I've listened to you guys, I have an understanding of, okay, I can, hey, I've heard this, and that's enough to get that guy's brain moving to say, oh, you know what? Hold on, that was the answer. And it was like, I don't know what the answer was, but I'm glad it helped, man. Keep going. But those little things is like what I love about hearing people's experiences, because there's just so many times where I've been on shows now, and it's like, oh, I get what's going on here. Oh, I've heard this story. Or, oh, hey, I heard this one time, and then that like it's that missing piece that someone needs, and it's a solve, and it's like, yes, like that's been a really cool thing that something you don't even think about that comes out of these things. It's awesome.
Yeah, and you gotta have a go-to. You gotta have a go-to, Omar, when you're stuck in a situation and maybe the guy that has the answer isn't on your crew. You need to know that you can pick up the phone and say, hey, Keithley, how the hell do I do this? I couldn't figure it out. I did everything I could to make it right, and it's not working. What did I do wrong?
Yep.
That's where these connections make the most, difference, I think.
Jeff needs a 1-900 number. The first 10 minutes will be this much money. Please deposit this much money.
It has actually crossed my mind a couple of times, but I did the same thing to Ed. I don't know, it was a while back. I was like running over a Dante issue. It was like with Yamahas, and somebody was on tour, so I couldn't get a hold of him. So I ended up talking to Ed, and we talked through it, and we came up with a plan. Yeah, that having somebody to call is cool. That's true.
Yeah, phone a friend. We did get one question in from Scott Monroe on Facebook. Is there any value to having a 4K webcam for Zoom or Facebook Live sessions?
Yes. It looks better most of the time, sometimes, but it depends.
I'll say, so I use a 4K camera, I use a Brio, and what's nice about it is that I can zoom in with the camera and not lose resolution when I'm going to Zoom or some other live stream with it. So to get the framing right, and I have options, I can change the field of view, things like that. So yeah, I think there is some value. If I was going to do it over again, I probably would have went with a Huddle Cam instead of my Brio. I like my Brio.
That's exactly what I have here. It's the OEM version of the Huddle Cam. It's the Conftel, and it goes out wide. I mean, it's way wider than it needs to be. So I'm actually zoomed in a substantial amount. It's only 36 inches away from my face. So I'm really zoomed in. I like my other camera, which I loaned it to a client, so I got to get it back. But it's a 4K camera, and it doesn't have quite the wide. Yeah, Leland's like going all over the place with it. These things are crazy wide, great for that. Not so great. I do have a green screen behind me, so I have to really tunnel it in to be able to get it to look better. But you're starting off with a better image most of the time. Yeah. Conftel, Rick, KONFTEL. And no, their firmware is not interchangeable. Tried that, it did not work. So I can't get NDI out of this one. But this, for the most part, I mean, price points around the same. It was like $250, $300, I think, at the time. But I agree with having that ability to be able to. I don't have to get up and touch the camera. If I need to just move it, I could just bump it over with the remote, which I can't find at the moment, but usually I can just bump it up in or out with the remote without having to actually go up and mess around with it. That's what I like about it the most.
And you can
Yeah.
control 4 cameras with the device that comes with the Avaya, which is the same huddle cam as what Jeff's talking about. Another off-brand, but the same build. And you can find them over in B&H. So a lot of times on sale for under $200 on the refurbs. So keep an eye out for them.
Yeah, the reason I was saying if I did it all over again, I would do the huddle cam is for the HDMI and USB as a webcam. That's the only downside that to this Brio, that it's just a USB webcam. But yeah, no, great. I definitely think there's value. I think we all hit that for Scott. So yeah, 4K, absolutely. Even though it's going to knock it down, Zoom, depending on your account level, it's either going to be 1080 or 720, or it could be 360 if you're on a free basic account. But you're starting off with a better image, and you get those features that we were just talking about. So I think if you're back, or did we lose Dave altogether? There he is. So Dave, if you're there and you want to give us kind of a quick rundown of what you've been working on. Actually, I just see his profile picture.
He just came in.
He just came back in. Yeah. There you go.
Hey. Yeah, I just got on the conference internet. It's always different from your room Wi-Fi. So I am standing in front of a 34-foot wide by 14-foot high. I think it is a YesTech 3.9 mil LED wall, and it's all ground supported. Here's our Ring camera. We've got for security over the weekend, and our security guard sitting there in the back. So we have security the whole time. I'm not sure if you can see the structure behind it.
Oh, we lost your camera. There we go.
Yep, accidentally hit the button on my phone. Can you see the ground support structure and the processing rack?
Yep.
And so it's an all Pete's big TVs. I think that's their custom ground support structure. And so we've got a bit of stage deck, an 8-inch high stage that we brought in for the presenters to stand on. Here are their marks off the stage. If you can see those, the T is their ideal spot to stand, but there's lines that they can kind of mosey back and forth. We brought in a bunch of these white chairs for panels. So we're doing 6-person panels. The producer and / graphics operator, he's operating his own graphics.
Oh, did it freeze for anybody else?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was looking good though.
Yeah. Hopefully we get Dave back. He's frozen at the moment, but yeah, that was looking pretty cool.
You say there's no dumb questions. Is that this idea of going away from green screens and taking video of the video? Is that the idea behind the LED wall behind?
Sometimes,
Was
yeah.
that why they do that, or is it another reason?
Well, this
you have
is
me back?
you're actually shooting a panel against it, right?
Right.
So do you have me back?
Yeah, we got you
you're
back.
Okay. So I heard a few of those questions. We're using a digital backdrop, which if you follow me on maybe Instagram or Facebook, I put some pictures so people could see the backdrop with the panel chairs in front. The producer came up with the idea of baking the content pips into the backdrop. But then we realized pretty quickly that whenever someone moved, they would move in front of the back, their PowerPoint, or too far away, or they'd be too short or too tall. And so now we're floating their PowerPoint content beside them, and the cameras can, reframe ideally with them in front of the backdrop. So that's the situation there. We've got a Yamaha CL5.
I think he froze again on us. Yeah.
This is the setup he was just talking about, with all the screens together as a backdrop,
Yeah.
with the chairs in front of it.
Very cool.
I was gonna say, Andy, for virtual productions, depending if you're like, for what I've been learning a lot this last few months, what's really cool is that you can essentially create an environment that the audience or that the presenter can look at and interact with much easier than a green screen. It's a much easier kind of workflow. And if you have Unreal or Notch, you create whole worlds that the camera can actually track and move with you to
This is
create
what they're
more
doing in
real
TV shows and
experience.
movies now, right? Like the Mandalorian stuff is all being done
Yeah.
without green screens, and the actors are in the environment they're supposed to be in. So this works well with presenters as well, you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, that's
Very cool.
XR, and that's like what I've been diving into a lot this last few months. And the setup he has would do it perfectly, because everything else everything else outside of that could be keyed out so that the camera, the camera output side only sees what you want it to see, but the presenter or the actor gets to see the actual environment, which is much easier to interact with. What a cool side effect that we've been seeing for just shows in general with that setup is that the LED, and most shows, but as long as you get the right camera with the right shutter speed and the lensing, all this stuff is for the moire and for the refresh rates of the walls. What's been really interesting is that backdrop also has as a fill light for the back, so you don't need to have as much backlight anymore. Put about 20% brightness, and it's already kind of like an auto done for you backlight for the cameras. The real thing is figuring out at what distance I need to be out for my lens and my camera body and my refresh rate, so that I don't see either moire or see the refresh rate of the LED wall itself when I'm doing all these moving or tracking stuff. And then one step further, if you get motion trackers like Skype or Moses, which I've been training on, you can import that data and that camera into, again, Notch or Unreal, and then I can move around. And like with my camera, since I have a real background, camera moves with me. The background is staying perspectively correct. If you have a flat background, it doesn't move with you in the camera. It's a flat back and it doesn't look right. But what will happen is that camera now will move with the background and track it, and it'll get you a real perspective of what's going on. And that's kind of what's really interesting about this new kind of workflow, getting away from green screens. Not that it's honestly any different. The reality is it's a lot more complicated than green screen, but the effect for the person is a much easier thing to do than if like the weather person who's looking at green screen, they're being trained to look at like a monitor over here or look at the camera over here. Now it could be right next to them. They can literally look at it and be like, oh yeah, here's this, da da da, and XYZ.
And it's only because of high res LED walls that this is even has started to happen, right? It wasn't something they had years ago. They didn't have these high res walls that they couldn't do this before.
It depends if you're talking about XR. It has to do also with the tools like Unreal and Disguise running Unreal and Disguise working those walls. That's where a lot of the pieces coming together are also. So it's like a perfect storm. A lot of things coming together at the right time. Dave, did you say that is Dave still here? Dave's
Yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Did you say that wall's only a 3.9 or 4.9?
3.9.
It is a 3.9.
Oh.
So can you guys see me at all?
Yep.
So this is what the presenters are looking at. It is two Hitachi Z3000 broadcast cameras, corporate broadcast cameras, with 66 and 70 by sports lenses on them to go the whole 30 feet across the room. But the reason we do that is because they're very large apertures, and it reduces the depth of field and reduces the moire on the lower res wall. We've got a 4K Panasonic PTZ for the wide shot, and then we've got another little HE40 Panasonic that we call the shoe cam, because this client has custom socks that they like to show off. So we keep one PTZ pointed at their shoes at all time. And for the panels, we use that camera for the moderator as a lock off, because it's not pointed. The moderator is shooting off the LED wall. So we don't get moire very much off that one shot. So hopefully it won't break up when I walk into Video Village. Sorry, all the monitors are off right now. Did it break up?
No, we still got you.
Okay, so we've got two large graphics racks, each with a 70-inch that rises from the back of the rack on a motor lift. And that's got a quad 4K processor on each one. So I've got my two E2 multi-views, a program out, and the E2 interface on mine. And then the graphics station for the super wide backdrops has the super wide, one of the Zoom machines is the other graphics machine, and then 2 multi-views. And then we've got some laptops, we've got a Facebook portal or 2. So we're doing a total of 3 Zoom machines out. One for the primary audience, one for internal staff, and then one that we're pinning people, who are presenting remotely. So that's kind of the workstation. And then if I turn my chair,
Facebook portal.
Yeah, I got a Facebook portal right there behind me. We use the portal to up-res the Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are just join the meetings. And then this rack has the PTZ controller, the shaders, 2 Atmos dual Shoguns, and then HyperDeck, and some, scopes of various, and a sundries. So, and then we've got our rack with the E2 and the S3 as a backup, a cold backup that just rides around in the rack. So that's
Cool.
kind of the lighting is over my head there. It's 2 10-foot truss ticks with a pipe across them and 8 LED Lecos that are all just slamming across the room to stage. Everything is to the ceiling in this room. And we have this nice handy column that we have to shoot around. So it's a fun week.
Yeah, it looks great, Dave. Looks great.
That's an awesome setup.
Yeah.
It went in and went up, and we were rehearsal ready in 12 hours.
Wow.
That's amazing.
And it was a 2,000-foot push from across the parking deck up a passenger elevator into the room.
Wow.
Crazy.
And we had to lug nut bare wires because they did not have a plug for their show power. It's a brand new venue, and with a 60 amp dryer plug, and they did not have the plug that plugs into it. So we had to open up the box on the wall and lug into the bare wires that were on the backside of the plug, disconnected their plug.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But really cool setup. That's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that with us. We're just past the top of the hour. We did get one other question that came in from Angela Williams. So we'll do this real quick. Anyone on this panel experience Pro Presenter for these events? We did do an episode on Pro Presenter that I believe it was Chuck Wojak who presented. So you can go back. Well, you can't go back and search a lot of our Facebook content because of the issue with vMix this week. But you can search the YouTube archives to find that episode. But anybody else use Pro Presenter?
I use Pro Presenter every Sunday, but not in corporate.
Got it.
I use Pro Video Player. It's baby brother, but it would tear across the blends. So we ended up just using one output because we couldn't use the multi-output.
Copy that.
Oh, weird. I got to talk to you later because I used it for projection blending, 10,000 square foot building, 10 projectors. So we did 2 external Blackmagic cards in order to get it working, but Pro Video Player worked out great.
This was probably the older version. We
Okay,
were
yeah.
on the Mac trash cans using 3 outputs.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah, this was.
And it was a fast moving diagonal graphic. And as it would move down the screen, this at the blend region, it would tear the little diagonals.
Oh, crazy.
Okay. Yeah, it was a bummer.
Yeah, and then Jeff, to your point, yeah, the one place I know that uses it that I've done the install for, actually no, both of them are churches. So outside of that, I don't really see them used. Although my buddy Isaac.
That was Angelo's follow-up. He said just wanted to see if anyone was using it beyond church.
I have a buddy who I wanted to show me a video of a guy that does it for corporate, and he's kind of fanatical about it. So yeah,
I know one guy who uses it for pretty much everything, and it's mostly because he's a very budget-conscious vendor. That's what I'll say.
It's a powerful program, though. I'll give it that. It's very powerful.
Yep. so yeah, hope that answered your question, Angelo. Again,
Can I
we're
answer
a little...
one quick question from Tim live?
Oh yeah,
Just
sure.
because I'm
Go
on
ahead.
my phone and can't type it. He mentioned how large these fly packs are, and they are very large. But they weren't too large to get through a single door. They just barely fit. Our crates that the LED wall structure were too large to fit through the doors of the ballroom, so we had to leave them in the hotel lobby and carry the pieces in by hand. I do prefer smaller racks, but you know, if you're going to put a 70-inch monitor with a motor lift, you're kind of building a rack of a certain size already, and that was some of the wow factor. The nice thing about these larger racks is you don't worry about them walking out of the ballroom. So, you know, as opposed to a pile of laptops that are loose.
I agree with you completely about that. Always one of my worries is laptops laying out on a table every single time. Security or not, doesn't matter. Always worry about it.
Even over a lunch break.
I had it happen years ago, but it was a lunch break. They broke out. I lost the projector, 2 laptops out the door.
Wow.
Yep.
I've had that happen in Miami quite a few times on mostly in studios though, because they're like in weird locations. We had a whole show we did for Dior, and a bunch of the laptops that had like proprietary audio stuff on it were stolen. So the show was very complicated to do the next day without the right software.
Isn't it sad we all have to learn that with our experience? Mine was 1976, a $2,000 Bell & Howell projector, 16 millimeter that I didn't put a chain on.
Oh.
And what a lot of people don't realize, you know, that $20 laptop lock isn't just locking down a, you know, maybe an $800 or $2,000 computer, but it's locking down your client's content, and it's locking down all the cues, you know, the last revision of the notes or whatever. So so that, you know, that $20 Kensington lock is worth its weight in gold sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do want to wrap because we are getting a little late. But I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Andrew, who else is on my Leland, Jeff, John Nicholson for joining us, Fred, Dave Node. We had Tim earlier who was on with us, and of course Omar was able to jump in after his show. I don't know, Omar, if you caught it early on. I was saying how you and Chris were both into unexpected OT, so we figured your show was going super well, and you were, you know, not in the weed at all. But yeah, no, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank the audience. Your insight has been great tonight in the comments. Hopefully, you guys all went and filled out that form. And if I, nope, I don't have it in my clipboard anymore. But I will post that one more time so that you guys can complete that. It really is going to help us out. If I can find it, where did I put it? But yeah, we want to thank everybody. We're going to take this data, we're going to look at it, and we're going to figure out what we're going to do moving forward. Again, if anybody wants to join as a panelist, I think, you know, we didn't put these guys up to it, but I feel like they did like the best commercial ever for AV Tech Talks tonight. And I really, a lot of, you know, I take all your feedback to heart. It was, you know, great to hear. I'm glad that, that those of you who have presented and have been on the panel have had positive experiences being here, and that you had such great things to say. Believe me, it's so appreciated. Again, like I said, I can't thank everybody enough who takes their time to give back to the community by being here and sharing. So it really means a lot. So thank you all. Look forward to doing more shows. I finally found the link I was looking for. More shows in the future, and you know, we hope that more people from the audience will join, participate. It really is a lot of fun, and we get to know everybody. And yeah, like Jeff and I we'll get on the phone and chat about stuff. He'll call me if he's got an issue, and you know, I've bounced plenty of networking things off him when I was looking for a switch for a client. You know, same thing. Me and Omar, me and Leland have been on some Zooms early on, talking about vMix, and you know, my work with Andy through the Remotely Possible beta team has been great, and it's all because of these online communities that we've been part of through the pandemic. So, you know, come join us. It's fun. It's a great time, and you really do build relationships with people who we want to work with. We all want to work together. You heard us all say it would be great if we could all meet up in some very warm location, not this cold location that I am in at the moment. So yeah, come hang out. Come be part of it. It's you know, you can sit on the sideline if you want, but it's a lot more fun when you play the game. So with that, I want to thank everybody, and we will publish a better schedule. Join our Discord, and we'll get some more content up for you. Omar, you got anything else before I close it out?
No, I mean, I would just be echoing what you said, man. Thanks for the positive feedback, the comments. They've been really great, and they really help us get better at this and then keep pushing forward. And it's I can't thank you guys enough. And honestly, without you guys, none of this is possible. And trust me, Enemy have done shows where you guys aren't around, and it's definitely not as fun as it when you guys are around. So we're glad you guys are here.
Great. So yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah,
we'll wave good night to the online audience, to Facebook and YouTube, and we'll see you all next time.